Friends of UNH Women's Hockey present Coach's Corner with head coach Brian McCloskey.
Hi, and welcome to the Friends of UNH Women's Hockey's Coach's Corner. I'm Phil Kincade along with head coach Brian McCloskey, and welcome to our third season of Coach's Corner. As you know, every week we sit down for a few minutes, talk about what's happening on the team so that friends, family, and fans can keep up to date with everything that's going on. Well, Coach, let's start out. I don't remember a more hectic opening to a season in the team's history. 10 games in 25 days. A real struggle in some ways, but then a lot of reasons to be hopeful.
Yeah, it was, of course, given the roster size this year and the fact that the Four Nations basically takes kids out for a couple of weeks, it put a lot of pressure on Aaron and I and Steph to schedule around that particular tournament. So we had to make a choice. The lesser of two evils was to play a heavier schedule, as you said. And, if you'd asked me on, at the end of September, you're going to be 6-1-3, will you take it? I'd take it. Just especially knowing the teams that we were going to face, as well as the fact that what we've already seen unfold in our league, the parity. So we've been in some tremendous dogfights, but I've been extremely pleased. Our team's made a lot of progress, Phil, and we've got some very tough games looming. But I really like where we're at today, and hopefully we can keep improving and get better.
Well, you mentioned that in the last games and the progress the team has made, and I know the players feel that, especially the last couple of games, they've sort of turned the corner, playing more as a unit. Yeah. Tell us what you think, how this team has improved over the first 10 games.
Well, I think the biggest thing I noticed, especially this past weekend, the cumulative effect of 6-7 games prior, was that I thought we took better care of the puck. We weren't giving up the quantity of scoring opportunities. We gave up a handful, but I thought we started to get back into a little bit more. We have to play it a little differently. I mean, compared to past years, where maybe we had more or enough depth to dictate style or tempo, start to finish. I think what our kids are learning is how to bend, not break. The other teams are going to have some surges. We're probably going to struggle at times because maybe from sheer fatigue or kids having to log a little too much ice time in the middle of the game. But so I called it sort of being smart, playing intelligently, and I thought this past weekend we started to see some real signs of it. And then coupled in with that is I really had a strong sense from the bench on the games Thursday and Saturday that our kids were starting to really, I say, get it. They had a cohesive concept of our shapes and what we're trying to do execution-wise. And it wasn't so skitterish, where we looked good for 5 minutes and then looked out of position or out of sync. I thought we carried a nice tempo all weekend. So, I'm excited looking ahead, and we're going to need that going up. We come out of break and we're going up against Maine, and then of course Wisconsin, and and then some of the teams in our league that have really made good improvements from past years, BU, Northeastern. So before Christmas here and then Harvard, we're going to get tested severely, and that's good. That's good to find out what we got.
Well, of course, one of the big challenges is the fact that you lost 10 players from last season. So as this team started out, it really didn't have an identity yet. It seemed as over these first several games, you're starting to see the team develop its own identity.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, the 10 kids we lost, of course, primarily in the senior class, those were some, 150-point 100-point defenseman, 350-point plus career forwards. That's gonna, you aren't gonna replace that even if you had the numbers. And then, this has been one of those seasons where Brittany Scudder, incoming freshman, had to have surgery on her shoulder prior to school and is going to take a redshirt year. And then, as you know, this past weekend, Jen Wakefield was up with Team Canada, and then of course we've had a couple injuries and Miss Kelly Cahill. So, given our numbers, I think what I'm seeing is they are starting to get an identity, because it's pretty apparent how we're going to have to play and how we're going to be able to be successful in offense. I don't see this team putting up the offensive numbers of last year's team, but I still think we're going to be pretty good offensively. And then defensively, we're making progress. I mean, we're by hook or by crook or by sheer necessity. Certainly, Casey and Maggie are two seniors. Excuse me. I mean, they're giving us superb play. But what you're seeing is, some of the players that haven't been in the lineup or haven't carried that much ice. Raylan Jingalewski, who got injured. Courtney Sherry, who didn't play, who took last year off. I really see them starting to get acclimated, and that's going to be really critical for us. And even Kelly Cahill, who was out injured this weekend, but Kelly missed a year because of concussion syndrome, or a year and a half. So those are kids who are kind of getting, we're asking a lot. It's not like we can just blend them in, Phil, and so or ease them in. They're having to play quality minutes in key situations. I guess, like I always say, the good news is we're getting better as we go, and we're winning our share of games. So I'm excited. I mean, this is a really fun group to coach. I would suspect the fans and parents are a little more on edge, but in that sense, I guess it makes it more interesting. And I think we're seeing across the country. Look at some of the scores around the country, even out in the WCHA. I saw North Dakota beating Ohio State this past weekend, and it's just incredible. Quinnipiac took Harvard 2-1. Came down. Harvard won, but it was a 2-1 game. I mean, the gap between the traditional top teams and those middle bottom teams has just shrunk. And so I think you're seeing it in every league. The competition's ferocious, so it's great.
Yeah, it's one of those seasons where it's wide open right down to the end, and it really makes a difference who's playing best in March.
It's going to make a huge difference. And without question, we've seen already in our league, Connecticut, very strong, BU, strong, and they should be. I mean, Brian's done a great job there, and he's got a lot of veteran players now. BC, of course, having a nice rebound with Katie there in her second year. And then there's, you've got Vermont improving. You've got Northeastern coming out of the gate strong. Providence, always a team that gets better over the course of the season. Everybody, Maine. I mean, it's going to be a better league this year. And what I've been impressed by, Phil, is that our league, out of league, has, unlike past years, I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm almost certain we're well over 500 against the ECAC and some of these other leagues. So that's exciting. That bodes well for our league come national tournament time. And we couldn't have said it in past years. Maybe Providence ourselves was a legitimate contender to be in the national tournament. Looking down the road, and it's early, but it's pretty safe to say that there's 4 or 5 teams in our league that are potential NCAA tournament teams.
One of the oddities of the schedule, you're a 2-week break. You don't have another game until you travel up to Maine. And so, again, another challenge. What do you do during these 2 weeks to keep the team fresh? Yeah,
it's a great question. We thought a lot about this. I mean, we took some days off, which I think was well-deserved after the schedule that we've been through. And we allowed our players to catch up on some school. And we're kind of running a little Wildcat Olympics here, sort of splitting our team up into different teams. And the competition was a little too ferocious for me today. I thought they got after it pretty hard. We're just having fun with it, and it'll give us a chance to watch a little tape. I think what I've tried to do this year, maybe differently in the past, is given our numbers, given the way our schedule's unfolding, I think mental as well as physical break is important, not only from the ice but from me. So we're trying to, change it up. And, I know, given what we've done in the first, like you said, 10 games, the kids will be refreshed after this little break, and we'll need it because we're going to play a tough schedule in the next month.
Great, Coach. Thank you very much. We'll be back next week with another edition of Coach's Corner. And maybe, since there won't be any games to talk about, we'll highlight some of the players and some of the good performances that we've seen so far this season.